guess we're right now. I just want you to talk about your fondest memories.
You guys want to do a clap again?
Of Rodney.
Yeah, let's do a clap if you don't mind. I'm just going to do it right now. Ready?
My fondest memories of Rodney is almost basically when he was a kid and he had graduated, and I went to the graduation, and to see the spirit of him graduating, how proud he was of it, was a memorable point for me. And at the same time, I would also have to say when I heard him rap for the first time, and the only time, and that my memories are somewhat not as long and not as rich as a father's memories should be, and that's due to me being locked up. The large majority of him growing up, I was confined, and consequently by being confined, there was so much of his life that I was not a part of. And it takes me to the mindset of when he was killed, how I felt that if I'd have been a better father, it might not have occurred. Or if I would have been a part of his life, more intimately a part of his life, it might not would have happened. That's why I look at it from the perspective of why parents in our kids' lives are so very, very, very vital.
Okay.
It's so very, very vital because of my absentee in some of the natural growth of his life. So, you know, I knew when he was born, I was a part of that to a degree. Seeing him go to school briefly. But the inspiration, as well as the hurt, and I think to a large degree, I think as a personal perspective, it's more hurt than inspiration. Even while it helped to motivate a movement, it still was aspects that I was not there to see the true talents and the true spirit and the true skills of my son over a long period of time, a reasonable period of time. So it has this bitter and sweet aspects of things, you know, for me. And it's fresh, amazingly, because as I hear some of the guys speak about him and talk about him, it becomes a piece to me that it hurts because I was not there to see him. I was not there to be a part of him. You know, to have a son that has skills and talent and you not really know anything about it and the world understands him. That's, you know, that's a hurting perspective. I don't know if you can consider it as selfish love or a desire to be the traditional aspect of a father. You know, and that's reasons as to why I push so hard, so very, very hard. Because I understand the need for that particular component in our child's life. So I take it on as a community aspect, man, to do everything humanly possible in me to redeem my lack of. That's my spirit on that.
What was Rodney as a kid growing up?
You know, normal kid. You know, I'll never forget. I used to give shows, and there was a place in the district called Uline Arena on 3rd and M, and we had some pretty big stars there. The OJs were there, and people was coming through the back door on me. And Rodney was working with me that day. Rodney came running in and said, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, they coming in the back door, they coming in the back door." I tried to stop them, but they knocked me down. And you know, I saw the spirit of Rodney, you know, at a younger age. And he used to work up with me. I had a hair salon. And Rodney used to come up and work with me at points and times on that. Rodney was really a good kid. He was really a kid that had a desire to basically to have something, to be a part of something. And he was a kid that, you know, that we would talk when I was around, you know. And that's how I see Rodney. I see Rodney from the point of view of a happy spirit, good spirit, and it was always an even spirit. Later on in life, if Rodney didn't have $1 in his pocket or had $50, it was always the same way. You could never tell whether he was dead broke or had $50 or whatever. You know, his spirit was always the same. You know, and you know, we had a trust and we had a love for each other. You know, but at the same time, I think that if I'd have been there more, there'd have been no telling what he would have been able to accomplish. You know, no telling.
How old was Rodney when you first became incarcerated?
Rodney was about 6 years old. He was about 5 or 6 years old. And then I came home. He was about 17, 18. And he was kind of seeing things in his own directions. We retained a good, healthy relationship, but that elapse of time had its cost, especially in regards to our father-son relationship. I can easily remember times when, you know, we would talk, and times I would take him places, and times we would do things like that. But the real foundational pieces was not there. Then I got locked up again, and but he was already, you know, his personalities had already gelled. It was the first time. That was the impact.
What went through your mind the first time you heard your son rap?
I heard, you know, from different people that he was rapping. You know, it was a common thing. Folks were talking about him. I just had never heard him, you know. And the first time I did hear him, he was taking me somewhere. He was in his truck and he was taking me somewhere, and I asked the question. I said, "Boy, they tell me you can rap." He said, "Yeah, Dad." And he began to hit the dashboard and rapping spontaneously, you know, from there. And you know, he was in the streets rapping and doing this thing, and he had a manager that was basically supporting him in the contents of navigating him for him. So he, you know, the first time I heard him was the first and only time was in a truck, his truck. And it was almost like a myth, you know, that something you'd heard, you'd never seen, you never knew. And you never saw it again, you know. And as I look back at some of his films now that I'm seeing, after taking on the venture of the documentary, I'm looking at some of his films, and man, to see how he moved people, you know, and how he was spontaneously rapping. And he taught me some things from his gravesite, you know, from his grave in death, you know, because I do quite a bit of speaking, still with a major reluctancy and fear. But after listening to Rodney and hearing him, it tells me, I say, boy, you know, if he can do that, then you know you can, because it comes from you, you know, the spirit of him, you know. So it made some things a lot more, had become a lot more convincing to me, you know, in regards to it. And that's just amazing for me to be able to pull back from what he was doing and gain strength from that and go on with it.
Did he ever express to you how he felt with you being incarcerated?
You know, in our communities, I guess we've been able to change wrong into right in becoming a fad, rites of passage, you know, especially at the age that I returned. It was never a thing that he looked down at. It was always a thing that, you know, so many of their fathers, of their friends' fathers and their family members have been locked up. So it was never a thing where they looked down at, they looked up at. You know, it was a rites of passage. They come with a novelty aspects of it, you know. So no, he never looked at it from the perspective of being embarrassed or being hurt. Never shared that part of him. We shared some other things, but never to the point that he was hurt. Never.
Okay, let's pause. You need to change the battery.